The numbers told the story. They always do.
It's one of those idiots who believe in analytics.
This is a numbers game with Gill Alexander on VSiN.
Hour number 2 of a numbers game at VSiN, the sports betting network, VSiN.com, the VSiN app, Game Plus, iHeartRadio, YouTube TV. However you're taking us in, we appreciate it. It's Gill Alexander. It's Kelley Bydlon. Super Bowl week, Super Bowl 57. Oh, we have a pro tip, Kelley.
Pro tippy time.
Why are you trying to change the jingle, man?
I forget it, man. I just make up a new one every time.
Pro tip, pro tip, pro tip. Am I
I'm
supposed
have to record it at some point, I guess.
Get him in the recording studio. Maybe it'll be eligible for the Grammys next year.
I can picture me and you jammed in a real small sound booth trying to record that.
Make sure you're taking into account how many games players have started when looking to bet the Sixth Man of the Year award in the NBA. Remember, it's not enough to play as many games off the bench as it is starting. You have to play more, just one more. So it's got to be 42 minimum off the bench. It's your VSiN Pro Tip of the Hour. We do one every hour on VSiN across every show, so that means at least 20 every day, all available for VSiN Pro subscribers only at VSiN.com, where you can sort them by sport and by show. We get tweets. I don't know if you know that, Kelley. We get tweets.
Yeah, I got one about, hey, Gil, what was your tennis pick?
Alejandro Tabilo, Tabilo. Chris of St.
On the move, minus 125 now.
Oh, it's coming back now. Did I do that? This is from Chris of St. Bart's. Hey, Chris of St. Bart's, glad to have you back. I know some idiots ran you off a little while ago. He said, thanks for Powell and the tennis play. What was your play on the Bucks you mentioned earlier? Oh, last week. I think it was last week. Or was it earlier this week? No, it was last week because yesterday was the first day of this week.
You're sounding like I feel, but yes, it was last week. Yeah.
Bro, is it time for vacation?
Yeah,
it is just.
Days are running into each other.
The brain is fried. We were talking about how you got to look at these markets in the NBA, and the Bucks at the time were 3 games behind in the win column, behind the Boston Celtics, and you could get there was several markets. One of which, the one we highlighted, was who will end up with the best record in the NBA, who will end up with the most wins, and the Bucks were 8-1, and so we recommended that, and sure enough, the Bucks have closed the gap since. Someone else pointed out that an even better market was who will get the number 1 seed, and it was plus 1250. Yeah. So either one of those bets, spectacular.
Yeah, you still have both of those are up at DraftKings. So they have, to get the number 1 seed in the West and the East. Now this is flipped, Gil.
Yeah.
So if you want to do number 1 seed in the East, Celtics minus 300, Bucks plus 260, 76ers 11-1, Cavs 50-1. But if you go to the most regular season wins, you're going to see Celtics minus 140 and the Bucks 4-1. So if you were going to bet it now, it makes more sense to bet that market than the number 1 seed.
Yes. Though still.
Although you could win the number 1 seed.
Though not as sexy as last week, still good bets.
Yeah.
This is from Mark Geiger, in-house attorney, numbers game. Mark was feeling where I was about to go with this, I think. He says, yes, you are a great responder on Twitter, but House Counsel recommends that you save the real good stuff for the paying customers and not give away the store to the freeloaders or already get plenty gratis. Mark Geiger, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, yeah, look, I've always responded to everybody.
Yeah, and to be completely honest and pull back the curtain of how VSiN works, I think that's always been one of the toughest things that we've struggled to figure out with, how far to go one way or the other. But Mark's a smart guy.
Mark's a smart guy. Already. Look, management would agree with that. I've always responded. I'm not going to change in that way.
Yep.
So. But I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying.
It's tough to figure out where that split occurs, right?
For sure.
That's definitely not an easy thing. Okay, how about my Super Bowl bets I've made so far, Gil, which is not that many either. I think what you were saying last segment is very true. That look, we kind of I kind of feel like my NFL betting kind of stopped after that divisional round as far as big bets. And I'll be completely honest, I will be breaking down the golf tournament later today. We'll be recording long shots later today with Matt Brown and Wes Reynolds. I guarantee you I will have more money on the golf tournament this weekend than I will on the Super Bowl. Like, that is without a doubt.
And I will on tennis.
Yes.
But you and I aren't going to fill the time up with golf and tennis for 3 hours.
Exactly. Yeah, we're not going to do that to you. But as far as what I did bet, I did dive into some props this weekend. I did the massive Vegas go through each app, get kicked out because you've spent more time on another, so you got to re-log in. So annoying.
So bad.
I did make a few bets, though. I have got nothing side or total. I am leaning Eagles. I'm a little oppo you. But from my standpoint, just like we were talking a bit last segment, there is no reason for me to put an Eagles bet in now, right? It is wait till later in the week where I think people are going to get to the book and see Chiefs plus money, and they're going to want to bet that.
Can I ask you about your top one here?
Of course.
So Eagles score first, you bet at minus 120.
Yes.
Now, this is not one of those Super Bowls where we can really ascertain an edge on either, if one team defers, if the other team receives, they tend to make those. These are two deferring teams,
Sure,
right?
they are.
So you don't know who's, there's no indication prior to a coin flip as to which side would be more likely to get the ball first, but you still bet the Eagles
I bet
to score
it,
first.
and all I'm really going off of here is what we've seen the Eagles do in the first quarter and first halves of games this entire season. I think that gives them a bit of an edge. And look, I've got an edge to the Eagles in this game. It's slight. That's why I'm waiting. I haven't even bet it yet. Not even sure if I will bet it pregame. There's, like you said, Gill, there's no reason for us to treat this like any other game, unlike any other game in the rest of the NFL season. I might just wait live. I don't know. I might want to see Jalen Hurts a little bit more. I keep hearing all about this. He's not completely healthy. I don't know if I fully believe that, but I might want to wait and see a little bit of that first. But I did bet, yes, them to score first. I bet a little bit. And then the other Eagles-centric bet I made, A.J. Brown, yes, to score a touchdown, plus 140. That price is just gotten away from what we've kind of seen him regularly at throughout the season. It's not much, but at plus 140 because he struggled in the playoffs a little bit, I think that number's become a little inflated. He's still a big red zone target, still one of the league leaders in touchdowns this year. I like that number at plus 140. And then the other ones I made, I think my favorite one is this one, Gil. The under 4.5 Chiefs.
I was just looking at that.
Chiefs players with a rush attempt at plus 190. Now, the thought process behind this is, look, Mahomes is going to run the ball. This is not an anti-Mahomes bet, okay? If you're sitting there thinking that right now. The thought process behind this is you've got most of your wide receivers that you would have done anything end-around stuff with or fancy things where they might pick up a carry. Mecole Hardman and Kadarius Toney are both coming off injuries. Mecole Hardman not even going to play. We know that now.
This is a really good bet.
So Kadarius Toney, I don't think there's many wide receivers that I have to concern myself with.
Good catch. Well, here's the thing. Just look at their stats this year. Pacheco has 170 rushing attempts. Patrick Mahomes, fourth with 61. The only two in between Pacheco and Mahomes, Edwards-Helaire, who was just activated, with 71 rushing attempts this year. Jerick McKinnon was 72. After that, it drops off a cliff.
Yep.
Ronald Jones somehow got 17. I missed most of those.
Right. Yeah, I think I caught it like twice.
Though he did get a carry last week, was it? Or the year
it was last week or the week before, yeah.
So you would have to get one of Jones, as you pointed out. Toney says he's playing, but will they really call that play? Hardman is out. And then it's just a collection of Moore, Burton, Kelsey, Gray, Valdez, Scanlon, right? It's like just like the poo-poo platter.
Pacheco, McKinnon, Mahomes are going to get carries.
Yes.
Right? So in my mind, as long as I don't get burned by two of the following, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who I'll point out, let's keep in mind, is coming off of injured reserve.
Right.
There's also been speculation, right, that he's not all that injured and that they've likened these other backs ahead of him. So who knows? Maybe he's scripted out of the game plan altogether. But as long as I don't have Clyde Edwards-Helaire and another wide receiver burn me here, or two wide receivers burn me on carries, then I should be. I'm still under 4.5.
Well, the beauty of this is, could you lose? Sure.
But the price.
Yes. Is everything. It's plus 190. Is that still out there?
I don't know. I can.
We got to check on that.
Yeah, I'll have to check for you.
That's what makes this bet so awesome. If it were, if this was minus 110 or even plus 110, I would sort of say, okay, whatever, plus 110, good bet, fine. But plus 190, my goodness.
So I saw a plus 140 first on it, but then another shop had a plus 190. So shop around.
But where'd you get the plus 190, man?
That was over at, I'll have to double check during the break. I'm not sure where I got that. This weekend
Kelley's
I got
like,
all
it's
these
a
apps.
synonym for wagering online.
No, it's not. No, it was
Wagering
somewhere
on the
here in
internet.
Vegas.
Yes.
But you know what I'm talking about, Gil. When
Yeah.
you're price shopping in Vegas, you're on one app, you go to the next one, and then you get logged out of the first app. Like, I don't remember where I made these
brutal.
right now. Okay, other ones. This is another one. I know Matt Brown's high on this one. Patrick Mahomes laying the yardage. This is just it's basically a spread bet, right? Minus 47.5 yards. So he's got to have 48 yards or more than Jalen Hurts. I think this gets home no matter the result, right? Whether it's a Chiefs win or an Eagles win, I think this can still get home because I think if the Eagles win, it's going to be so much more than just Jalen Hurts slinging the ball all over the yard. So I like that one, and then I played the Travis Kelce over 77.5.
Yeah, I'll play counterpoint with you again.
Sure.
Like Eagles to score first is sort of my concern being you don't really have an edge to me. The Patrick Mahomes one, I'll get back to sort of my thing, which is in every football game, in every football game, it really does. We say this in the hockey playoffs a lot. Man, it really matters who scores first in this deciding, best of 7 hockey game. This game more than others, because it's the Eagles, really does matter to me who scores first. That's why in-game for me on this is so much more appealing because the Eagles have gotten ahead of so many of their weaker opponents this year that they've been afforded the luxury of playing how they want to play.
Yep.
If that doesn't happen here, does it throw off everything they do? And how quickly will it throw off? Like how long does Nick Sirianni stick to what they want to do?
It absolutely could. And then you could say, if you're going on that script, Gil, almost every one of my props is screwed, right? But that's fine. I'm correlating them to the game script I think is going to happen.
As you should. And everybody should. We'll come back. Joe Sheehan, baseball season win totals next.
A numbers game on VSiN, the sports betting network.
The big game means big plans for VSiN. VSiN's in the middle of all the action and broadcasting live from Radio Row in Phoenix with athlete and celebrity interviews and our experts breaking down the game. You don't want to miss any of VSiN's coverage. Huddle up, watch Follow the Money, the Lombardi line, VSiN Final Countdown, and VSiN Prime Time live all the week. That is this week from Radio Row in Phoenix. For betting splits, expert picks, and big game props, head to VSiN.com. That's VSIN.com. Kelley, we got a flight scheduled for later today? No, we don't. What happened?
What are you talking about, man? We're gonna be like.
We're just riding down It's
gonna be like Dumb and Dumber, right? When they turn.
That's right.
He exchanges the van for the little moped. Like, come on, Gil, hop on back.
Are you here to see one of America's great engineering feats, the Hoover Dam? No, we're just here to make a wager. Thanks. Ladies and gentlemen, this gentleman has been writing about baseball for so many years. You can get the Joe Sheehan Baseball Newsletter now, and all the information is at Joe_Sheehan on Twitter. We welcome Joe Sheehan back on the show. How you doing, Joe?
Good, Gil. What's going on?
How you doing? Oh, good to see you. We get to see you this morning. I love that.
Yeah.
Joe, let me ask you it is Super Bowl week, and I'm curious, a guy like you that is super into baseball, does part of you say, oh, my God, I just cannot wait for this to clear so baseball can happen? Or do you also take just great joy in America's biggest sporting event?
Well, I mean, I'm a sports fan, so obviously I'll be watching the Super Bowl. I'll go to my friend's party, and I'm pretty sure there'll be a sheet there with 100 little boxes on it. I don't know anything about that. No, it's fun. I mean, it's an event. It gets everybody together, and come Sunday night at 10 o'clock, I'll post that Twitter picture of a baseball because it's baseball season. But no, I can get into it as much as the next guy. I used to really enjoy coming out to Vegas for this week and getting that big thing of props from the Westgate, the Hilton, whatever it's called now. But I don't get as into it as I used to, but that used to be a lot of fun.
All right, who you got, Chiefs or Eagles? Just put you on record.
Andy Reid on a bye, plus versus I'm not sure how healthy Mahomes is. It's a really tough call. I haven't made the decision yet, but I'm probably going to end up leaning Chiefs on the money line.
Okay, there you go. Andy Reid on a bye. Even Joe knows about Andy Reid on a bye. Eagles favored by 2, of course, total 51. All right, let me start with baseball this way. When sort of doing your projections heading into the 2023 baseball season, there's obviously been a scheduling format change, and I'm curious if this has played into any of your thoughts. Teams playing 13 games now against each of their 4 opponents within the division. That's 52 total games, as well as 6 games now each against 6 of the other 10 opponents within its own league, and then 7 games each against 4 of the other 10 opponents within its own league. That's 64 games. So you have, a definite change in interleague play in addition to that as well. To what extent have you thought to yourself, okay, this matters to certain teams, maybe more than others?
At the absolute extremes, I think it might be worth a win to, say, the Red Sox or Orioles trading a bunch of games against the best three teams in the AL East for a collection of games against the National League. At the reverse, maybe you look at the Cardinals, who are going to trade 24 games against the rest of the NL Central for, again, a bunch of games against the American League. But again, it's just a shift essentially of 24 games. So at the extremes, maybe it's worth a win. I think it's going to be one of those things that we talk about a lot, but doesn't actually have an impact on the season.
Okay, there are some season win totals markets that are up now, which is way earlier than ever before at some legit shops. It should be noted. What are your two favorite ones?
I looked at the numbers last week coming out of DraftKings, and the one that jumped out at me was the Tigers, which I believe were under 70.5. I think it's actually available at lower than that, or excuse me, higher than that in some other places. The Tigers coming off a season, they won 69 games. They had the quality of a 63-win team, though, if you look at the underlying performance. Yes, they're going to get presumably better. Riley Green should be better. Spencer Torkelson should be better. But their rotation is still patched together. But a lot of injuries. They're going to miss Casey Mize for most of the season, Drake Skubal for half the season, the young pitchers they were counting on. They went out this winter and got some patchwork guys, Matthew Boyd, Michael Lorenzen. But you look at a team that was terrible offensively last year, didn't do anything to improve that, kind of patching it together in the rotation. And Gill, one of the things I look at with season win totals is, what does this team even want to do? If the Tigers are surprisingly good over the first 4 months, it's going to be because Javier Baez played well or Eduardo Rodriguez pitched well. We get to July, I think they're more likely to trade those players under new GM Scott Harris and continue to build for the middle of the decade than they are to try to win 72 games. So I look at the team as it looks now, but also the team how it's going to look at August 1st. I don't think the Tigers are going to win 70 games.
Yeah, and always, again, for new baseball bettors, it is always important to start your baseball projections by looking at Bill James' Pythagorean theorem. You know, what's the actual win percentage should have been the past week. Base runs, you got to look at that as well. How much do teams over or underperform based on sequencing, which Joe has done here. Now, this other one I'm smiling at because I tipped off on your overplay here. This is one of those clubs that people are seemingly perennially very bullish on, but you've got the over on the Angels here at 81.5, right down the middle.
Right. They struggled during Mike Trout's career to put even a 500 team around Trout. You start with Mike Trout. You're 7-8 wins to the good when you start. And you look at this Angels team in recent years, Trout's never been on never won a playoff game. He's played in only one playoff series in his career. And over the last, I believe it's 7 years, the Angels haven't even finished over 500. Well, now they've got Trout and Ohtani. You're starting 15 wins to the good. If you just put a 460 team, like a 76-win team around those guys, you should be able to make the playoffs. Well, look, the Angels haven't had a spectacular offseason. They haven't had the big Anthony Rendon signing they've had in previous years. But they've gone out and they've made these one-win improvements. Hunter Renfroe for right field, Gio Urshela for the infield. You look at the bullpen improvements. I think they've done enough now to put a winning team around Trout and Ohtani. And remember, the lower standard, you've got one extra playoff team, so you're only really aiming for maybe 86, 87 wins. The Angels number, I believe, was 81.5. I saw some people said they could get it at 79.5. I like both of those. I'm not only just picking the Angels to beat that number. I think they're going to finally make it back to the playoffs.
All right, so Tigers under 70.5, Angels over 81.5, your two favorite plays. You do have a few other leans. Blue Jays over 90.5 wins, White Sox over 83.5, and the Reds under 65.5 wins. Pick any one of those and riff on those, if you will.
Everything went wrong for the White Sox last year. A ton of injuries up and down the board. I think if they just get back to baseline health, and they've added Andrew Benintendi, it will help them both defensively and offensively, give them a little more contact, a little more OBP at the top of that lineup. The top of that lineup, Tim Anderson should come back healthy. Lewis Robert, if he's healthy, is fantastic. Eloy Jimenez, one of the best power bats in the game. That 1 through 4 is going to put up a lot of runs. And again, health is a skill, but health also will usually regress. So everything that went wrong for them last year should go right. I like them not just to win more than 83.5, but to win the division.
And I probably buried the headline here, Joe, on your strong recommendations, which the Tigers and Angels qualify for. You were 8-1 the last 3 seasons, and on the soft leans, 4-1. So you have been doing very well with these. Let me ask a more open-ended question. which is, all right, I come to you from the future and I say, wow, Joe, what a 2023 postseason. And then that was the biggest talking point for me this past year, the Mets having this great regular season, and then poof, they're gone. The baseball postseason is the most random of all postseason in terms of outcomes. But if I come to you and I say, hey, this team slipped into the postseason and they actually made a run deep into the postseason and actually got, let's say, to a World Series. Let's say they didn't win it, but they got to it. What's the team that is off most people's radar that would qualify as the most likely of the group that is not the most sort of conventional wisdom loved of all baseball teams? What's a middling tiered team that actually has the goods, you think, if things break right, to go deep?
If you look at teams that finished under 500 last year, I think the Diamondbacks are the one that a lot of people are excited about. You look at that was a really good trade they made, picking up Gabe Marino for Dalton Varsho. I think the pitching should be better this year. They have a lot of young arms, not guys who are going to step in and be ones and twos, but guys like Drew Jameson, some other prospects who are going to step into the back of that rotation and really upgrade what was a flaw for them last year. The big concern is the bullpen, but Gill, we know that the bullpen is the easiest thing to fix at the trade deadline. Mm-hmm. So I like the Diamondbacks, get to 500 by the middle of July and then figure out the bullpen at the trade deadline. That would be the team that was under 500 last year that I like the best. In addition, of course, the Angels we just talked about, but I think the Diamondbacks are a little more off radar.
And I'll just throw one out there. Not the Rangers, because when we talk about teams that overperformed their actual performance last year, the Rangers really did, both in Pythagorean theorem with Bill James in terms of what their expected win percentage should be and in base runs and sequencing. They've obviously had a huge addition in DeGrom and elsewhere as well. You're not as big on the Rangers' bullish train as others are?
The Rangers have done all the things you do after you've put a young core in place by signing Seager and Semien and John and Gray and DeGrom. They just don't have the young core in place. Now, they should have Josh Young this year. He had a shoulder injury, missed most of last year. But it feels like we're still waiting for, Jack Leiter and Kumar Rocker, some of their defensive prospects to come through. I love what they've done. They just didn't have the base to do it from. I think they look at that division right now, and I can't put them ahead of the Astros, Mariners, or Angels.
All right. Joe, always a pleasure talking to you baseball. I know it's Super Bowl week, but never too early. We look forward to talking to you often this year, man.
Thanks, Gill. Take care.
Joe Sheehan, everybody. Again, the newsletter, all the information for the Joe Sheehan newsletter at Joe_Sheehan on the Twitter machine.
I love reading through it. You know me. I'm not even that big of a baseball bettor, but it's a great newsletter.
It is great information. Deep dive into baseball. We'll come back. Wes Reynolds will join us, co-host of VSiN's Live Bet Tonight, and, of course, also co-host of Long Shots. Talking Super Bowl 57, college basketball, golf, Grammys even, numbers game, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
A numbers game on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
If you're looking for a betting edge on football's big game, the VSiN experts have got you covered. Become a VSiN Pro subscriber with an introductory offer of only $9.99. VSiN Pro subscribers get access to our daily recap of the top plays made by VSiN show hosts and guests. Tools like our betting splits, deep dive betting reports, VSiN betting guides for the biggest games of the season where our experts break down brackets, best bets, and all the big game props. Don't miss out. It's a limited time offer, though. We should point that out. Visit VSiN.com/subscribe today to sign up for only $9.99. That's VSIN.com/subscribe.
Pew, 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 pew. Breaking news.
Do the old typewriter sound.
The Miami Heat are trading.
Oh.
Center Dwayne Dedmon in a second-round pick to the San Antonio Spurs.
Oh, God.
How boring is that?
Thought it was something great.
I know, right? Sorry. Had to do it.
That didn't deserve that.
Trade season's here.
Big trade deadline news, everybody. That ought to shift to the markets. You missed, Kelley, you were out of the studio, but Wes and I were having an off-air conversation, which would be great for the VSiN Plus subscription. Can't be said on air. Ladies and gentlemen, we bring in the glue that holds this whole operation together, co-host of VSiN's Live Bet Tonight, co-host of Long Shots, which he does with Matt Brown and Kelley Bydlon.
My man hit not just one outright this weekend, Gill. He hit two.
Wes Reynolds hits outrights like you
like what?
Have
like
scrambled
what?
eggs. Like you hit number twos. Like you hit second place once.
That's right. I got two of those two weeks in a row.
Wes Reynolds joins us. How you doing, Wes?
I'm well, Gill. Good morning.
Good morning. First of all, just you and me. Kelley's not listening. How is this new Long Shots thing going? Is he behaving himself? Is he okay?
No, Kelley's doing well. Kelley is actually the glue that holds the whole thing together on long shots from that concern. But, it's good to kind of get in because I think we all approach it at least somewhat similar. Now, we're all going to look at different, statistics or different metrics, but that's kind of the way we do it in terms of like modeling out things and then combining that really with like the market, because obviously these markets come out first internationally Monday morning, and then the States, kind of copy maybe a little bit of the movement they see overseas. And then, fascinating to see as things come out as markets move on some of these players.
All right. All of our podcasts at VSiN.com/podcast, including long shots with Matt Brown, Wes Reynolds, and Kelley Bydlon. So you hit Justin Rose, I assume, and who else did you hit this week?
It was Abraham Answer over in the Asian Tour event, the Saudi International. Now, that was not a live golf event per se, but it was a lot of live guys at the top. So, Abraham Answer, we had one too, actually, Abraham Answer and Cam Young. Now, Cameron Young, rumored perhaps to be joining the live tour, but he might have just went over there just to take, the little money guarantee, the appearance fee that you get over there. So, that has not been confirmed yet, but obviously as that season's going to get underway later this month, that's going to start to be a story once again in the golf world. This thing's not going away.
All right, I have multiple things to get to with you, so I want to keep this brief because you're gonna do most of this on Long Shots, the podcast. Preliminary brief thoughts on waste management this week that you can share now, though.
Well, you look at this field, Gill, and because it's an elevated event, it's a $20 million prize purse, 3.6 goes to the winner. This is the best field that we have seen so far. I mean, I know we're only a little over a month into the season, but when you look, 22 of the top 25 players in the official world golf ranking are in this thing. So you can get some decent numbers that would ordinarily be like chalky or considered chalky, I guess, week to week. The normal favorites at the top with Rahm and McIlroy, and of course Rahm is a Scottsdale resident, but the fact that, like yesterday, and I think it's been cut a little this morning, you were able to get Colin Morikawa, who's playing terrific golf. He's played 2 events this year. He was second at the Century Tournament of Champions, which gave me a little pain to start the season because I had him and he had such a big lead, and it just melted away. And Jon Rahm, yeah, we all had him, it seemed. And Jon Rahm eventually won the event, but he finished second, and then he finished third at the Farmers Insurance Open. So he's got a new putting coach, Stephen Sweeney. That's always kind of been a little bit of the shaky part of his game. But second and third to start the season, Colin Morikawa is a guy I really looked at. And then a guy down the board who's kind of becoming a little bit of a star in golf, especially if you watch the President's Cup last fall, is one Tom Kim, known as Ju Young Kim, goes by Tom. Tom Kim, I think, even though he's making his debut at the Phoenix Open this week, he's going to love this raucous atmosphere. If you watch that President's Cup, he's egging on the crowd and he's, being very demonstrative, a little bit of Happy Gilmore in him. And I think he's going to thrive on this, and I think the crowd is going to love this guy. He's got a lot of charisma, a lot of personality, and you can get him in the market at around 30-1 now. So those are 2 I have bet, and then I'm filling out the rest of my card this morning.
All right.
Yeah, my initial takeaways, Wes, and we're gonna do long shots later today. But when I saw Justin Thomas and Tom Kim with Justin Thomas with a 2 to start with the odds and Tom Kim with a 3 to start on the odds, I said to myself, I'm probably going to be on those 2 guys.
Yeah, no question about it. Sahith Theegala, another interesting one, which you could get around 50-1. If you remember, even though I hit Scotty Scheffler in the playoff last year over Patrick Cantlay, Sahith Theegala probably was in the best position to win this tournament, and then hit his drive in the water on 17, and that really took him out. So you get Sahith Theegala 50-1. I've seen Taylor Montgomery, who's kind of the new young rookie that's like getting in contention every single week, hasn't yet won on the tour, 66-1. So you're getting big numbers on really good players.
All right, rapid fire with Wes Reynolds. 1, were you involved in any of the long shots that hit at the Grammys?
I unfortunately was not. I was just looking around and I was looking to see, okay, who has odds up. And some of the offshore faraway place markets had them up. And then I think it was Bet365 that I saw on Odds Checker. And that's where I got the numbers for the different award categories. And I was just looking at this and, you know, Beyonce was the big favorite for album. Everybody thought she was going to win. Everybody thought Adele was going to win either record or song of the year. Maybe her and Harry Styles would split. But one of the things that you looked at these categories, especially when you looked at the best new artist, and I saw that you guys brought up that tweet I had.
Yes.
I only knew 2 of those 10 artists, Gil. And I like to think that I still try to remain current with following music and following the scene and whatnot. I only knew 2 of those artists. I knew Lotto because she had a big hit called Big Energy, which sampled a song that you and I know very well, Tom Tom Club, Genius of Love.
Classic.
That was, of course, famous for Mariah Carey Fantasy, which was a big hit that she did with ODB. So I knew her, and then I knew Maneskin, which is an Italian band, because I went and saw the Rolling Stones at Allegiant Stadium here in Las Vegas, and they were the opener, and their hit that they had on the radio was a remake of the Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons song Beggin'. So I knew those 2 artists, but there were 10 artists nominated for Best New Artist, and I only knew 2 of them. And I remember, and Gil, you and I probably when we were growing up in the 80s and 90s, we knew everybody. We knew all of these people.
Yes.
And it's like, I don't know any of these folks. And I know maybe I'm listening to too much older music or whatnot, but I try to keep current and know what's kind of hot. And I didn't know any of these people.
Wes, I think when you said Genius of Love, Tom Tom Club, I think we just became best friends. I'm pretty sure that just happened.
Yes. What you going to do when you get out of jail?
I'm going to have some fun. Super Bowl Kelley has no idea what's going on. Super Bowl 57.
Fun, natural fun.
There you go. Super Bowl 57. Who you got, Eagles or Chiefs? Rapid fire.
I have not bet the side, and look, in the Super Bowl now, most years I'm betting more props than I'm betting a side or a total.
What's your favorite prop?
Favorite prop actually is Jalen Hurts over 10.5 rushing attempts. I think that he's going to run a little bit more. He came close to clearing these attempts in the 2 playoff games, but the Eagles had such big leads that they didn't really have to run him, that they could use Gainwell a little bit more, that they could use Boston Scott. They used Miles Sanders mostly in the first half of these games, and they built these leads. But the one thing about the Chiefs, and you saw it a little bit against Joe Burrow in the AFC title game, they will be permissible and let you run, and you'll have time to scramble against these guys. And the fact that the spread is telling you more than likely it's going to be a close game. I don't see either team getting huge margin, maybe more than 10 points on the other. But I think Jalen Hurts is going to run a lot more. This is the Super Bowl. I think Nick Sirianni going to try to turn him loose from that standpoint. But in terms of the side, I do lean Chiefs, and that was my pick. I know in our little VSiN betting guide that we have put out, I did pick the Chiefs to go ahead and win the game. I just think that the experience, maybe this is the same thing the Rams saw a few years ago, where Sean McVay, the first time getting there, you know, you're not quite ready for it, and maybe that's going to happen to Nick Sirianni. So I do like the Chiefs to win the game.
All right, Wes, we got to go. 1 pick in college basketball today and 1 futures pick if somebody had to bet a future right now.
I would say Indiana, that got cut, obviously, with winning Purdue. That's a good long shot. But in terms of college football tonight, I like UConn laying.
He likes UConn laying the points. We had a little audio jump, but I think he said he likes UConn laying the points tonight, which is simpatico with what Matty Cox said earlier. Wes Reynolds, everybody, always bringing it right here at VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
A numbers game on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
BetMGM, the king of sportsbooks, unleashing the spirit of Las Vegas with BetMGM rewards. Every time you make a wager at BetMGM, you can earn BetMGM rewards points you can redeem for online bonus credits like free bets. It's never been easier to join the action on the new BetMGM app, featuring a fresh redesign with improved features and quicker navigation. And if you're planning a trip to Vegas, you can also convert your BetMGM points into MGM rewards points that you can use towards dining, shows, and hotel rooms at over 20 MGM Resorts, located on the Las Vegas Strip and nationwide. BetMGM Rewards, sports betting's premier loyalty program, including exclusive offers, incredible experiences, and valuable perks when you wager with BetMGM. Sign up with BetMGM or log in today to take advantage of BetMGM Rewards. Eligibility restrictions apply. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. Must be 21 years of age or older to wager. Please gamble responsibly. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Skill Alexander, Kelley Bydlon here as well. We get tweets at Beating the Book. Kelley, most of these tweets have to do with well, there's one. First of all, let me get this one out of the way. Eduardo, can we get the Jalen Brunson most improved movement going? I may or may not have him at 125 to 1. Okay.
Yeah, I know a lot of people out there with those tickets.
Most of these are about the Chiefs under 4.5 rushers.
Well, I'm looking at the tweet that just got sent in.
Well, so
wow.
So we're seeing plus 230s, plus 235. Somebody just sent in a tweet where it's plus 300.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you could take that one of two ways. You could say, well, that's a much better number than what Kelley got, and Kelley liked that. Or Kelly's a moron, and you should not bet that prop.
Well, Chris Felica texted in, and he said the thing to be concerned about with that is the old Travis Kelce direct snap.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, that's one of them.
Yes. And again, could you lose this? Absolutely. But the price doesn't seem right to me.
In my mind, I've got a couple outs.
Yes.
I've got a couple to play with. So Kelce could do that, and I still think I could be okay.
Mm-hmm.
Or not. I mean, or it's all normal Chiefs things, and there's wide receivers running everywhere, and it gets burnt in the first half.
Banshees of Atlantic City turning the radio off now because Wes Reynolds referencing ODB is the greatest thing I will hear all day.
Hey, you know what? I was going to say last segment that is the closest thing to a Wes Reynolds mic drop that you should get. So, yes, turning off the radio, essentially the same thing.
Me and Mariah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if he's been on a numbers game before, has he? We used to have him on primetime action all the time, but has he been on a numbers game?
I don't know. Might be a numbers game debut.
Nick Whalen, everybody, from RotoWire, senior NBA and NFL analyst, joins us at Whalen, but substitute the L with a number 1, and that's where you get his Twitter handle. How you doing, Nick? Good to see you, man.
Hey, good to be back, guys. I don't think I've actually been on this particular program before, but like you said, plenty of VSiN spots in the past, and looking forward to talking some Super Bowl, maybe a little NBA as well.
Well, Nick, you've reached the big time now, my friend. This is it's a big moment.
Also, curveball. We're going college basketball with you today.
Yes, that's right.
Oh no.
Yeah. Yes, we're only doing Grammys today. Okay, let's start with the Super Bowl. Let's get that out of the way because I want to get that in first. Super Bowl 57. You are not only we've only talked NBA before, but you are the NFL analyst over there, or NFL analyst at RotoWire as well. What are you betting? What have you bet so far? Whether game, total, or prop?
Well, starting with the game itself, I like the Eagles here, guys, and they're holding steady at 1.5. I don't think we see a ton more movement the rest of the week. I think the Patrick Mahomes ankle storyline is mostly behind us at this point. We're keeping an eye on some of those wide receiver injuries for the Kansas City Chiefs, but I don't think we see a ton of movement the rest of the way. I acknowledge the argument that the Eagles have not had the most difficult path to getting here, especially these last 2 games. It feels like we haven't seen the Eagles play a normal 4-quarter football game in a very long time, talking 5 or 6 weeks when you factor in injuries. But I just think this is the more talented roster overall. I think quarterback is kind of the one spot where Kansas City has the advantage. But other than that, I like what Philly's bringing to the table here. So I like the Eagles. I actually like the over on 51.5. I know that number has crept up a little bit more at DraftKings over the last couple of days. You could parlay the Eagles money line with the over 51.5 at plus 250. And I know historically these 50-plus point totals don't have a great history of going over, but these are 2 teams that can score with the best of them. They're top 3 in scoring, and these are 2 offenses that are extremely aggressive. Philly especially is a really, really aggressive team on the offensive end, and that leads me to a kicking prop that I like as well. Jake Elliott under 7.5 kicking points in this game. He basically needs to hit 2 field goals to go over. And I don't know if that happens. I think Philly, like I said, has been so aggressive. I mean, they're not afraid to go for 2. They're not afraid to go for it on 4th down. They're fantastic on 4th downs this season. They're also great on 3rd downs. And, they're 3rd in the league in scoring, guys. They were 2nd last in the NFL in field goal attempts and field goal makes. They have a 68% touchdown percentage in the red zone. This is not a team that likes to settle for field goals. So I think we see a lot of points, and I think we see the Eagles squeak this game out.
Well thought out from Nick. All right, let me go to the NBA trade deadline. I asked some form of this to other NBA guests, but I'll ask it of you because I'm not sure I've gotten the answer. What is the, again, we're just 2 days away now, 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Pacific on Thursday. What is the player to team? I don't know if that's Zach LaVine to Team X or DeMar DeRozan or someone on the Raptors. What's the player to specific team that could have the most impact on betting markets?
That's a good question. And, I think you have to look at a team that is probably the most desperate right now after missing out on Kyrie Irving, and that is the LA Lakers. I think they are going to be working extremely hard leading up to that deadline on Thursday afternoon to find some sort of upgrade. And they've kind of tried and failed to play both sides of this. They want to keep their future assets, but they also want to compete, when you're in win now mode with 38-year-old LeBron James. And, Kyrie Irving to me was their get out of jail free card. They struck out on him. Now, where do they turn? They have to bring in somebody. And, to me, I think they turn to the Toronto Raptors. That's a team that, lately they finally started to pick it up a little bit. But, ultimately, they're 5 games under 500. They're not going to win the finals. They're not going to make a playoff run. If that team is content to start selling off some pieces, like if the Lakers can turn Russell Westbrook and 2 future picks and, maybe a couple other throw-ins into Fred VanVleet, into OG Anunoby, then things get a little interesting. And look, the betting markets love swinging on the LA Lakers more than anything. They certainly do. So if we're taking in that consideration, I think that's what we could see happen. I mean, to me, I don't think anybody on the level of Kyrie Irving ends up getting moved before Thursday. Unless Kevin Durant really tries to force his way out of Brooklyn, which I don't think is going to happen. I think we're going to look back at this deadline and say, okay, a lot of like borderline all-star players, really good role players ended up moving teams. But I think we're going to look back and see Kyrie as the biggest shift.
If I said to you right now, who are the 2 teams that end up in the Western Conference Finals? What's your answer to that question?
That's a very good question. I think you have to pencil in Denver. Yeah, you have to pencil them in, and they, they could make some small upgrades. They're one of those teams that has its pieces in place, but could shuffle in, some 7th, 8th men to bolster that roster. So to me, it has to be the Nuggets, and beyond that, man. I'm going to go with the Clippers. If you would have asked me a week ago, I would have said the Golden State Warriors. I was kind of holding out all hope, giving them every benefit of the doubt possible. But this latest injury for Steph Curry, I mean, there's not a lot of precedent for what he's dealing with. I know our injury guy, Jeff Stotts, said he could find only one other injury in his database that even resembled what Curry's dealing with. Like,
really?
We have no idea how much time he's going to miss.
Wow.
The Warriors are going to be lucky to go 500 without him. He might come back and play 10 games at the end of the year and then have to go into the play-in tournament. So, I'm not a Clippers supporter. I don't love how this team came together. I don't love how they've gone about things the last few years. But, we're seeing Memphis start to slide of late. We're seeing New Orleans start to slide. I'm certainly not a believer in the Los Angeles Lakers. So by process of elimination, if you can, even if there's a 30% chance Kawhi Leonard stays healthy through the whole playoffs, that might be enough.
What a shift in the balance of power in the NBA over recent time. That's for sure, because the West used to be just so powerful as related to the Eastern Conference. Those LeBron years in Cleveland probably being the starkest example of that. What about today in the NBA? You have any plays on the slate today?
Well, I think the Phoenix Suns are catching the Nets at a good time, and that number has moved just in the last 10 minutes over at DraftKings. It's now up to Suns -6, was at 5.5 earlier this morning. They get Devin Booker back tonight. Obviously, the Nets coming off of a loss last night, but still a notable game with Cam Thomas going for 47. I think there's a decent chance we see Spencer Dinwiddie, Dorian Finney-Smith, try to get integrated with this team tonight. Second half of a back-to-back, third game in 4 nights. I don't see this as a great spot for the Brooklyn Nets. I think there might be some buy-in, some excitement. People kind of tailing Cam Thomas. I think that's going to fall off pretty quickly. The other thing to watch, too, is, of course, LeBron is within striking distance of the all-time scoring record. Needs 36 tonight to get there. He's plus 130 at DraftKings to break it tonight. His points prop is at 32.5, and it's juiced to the over. So to me, you're better off just betting that he breaks it tonight as opposed to taking the over on 32.5. Like if he's at 32.5, or if he's at, let's say, 32 points with 4 minutes left in the game, LeBron's going for it, right? He's not going to end up 1 point short. So, yeah, I don't think there's a lot of value in betting the over on LeBron's points prop. If you think he's going to gun for it tonight, which I think there's a decent chance he will. He's a dramatic guy. He'd love to do this with a 40-point game. I would just bet it at plus 130.
Yeah, and leaving it to the first bucket on Thursday would be awkward and uninspiring. So, for sure. Thank you, Nick. Appreciate it, man. Good seeing you.
Hey, anytime.
Your pro tip of the hour, by the way, I think probably the biggest point we can make all week. If looking to bet under on Super Bowl props, usually best to just continue to wait until later in the week. A lot of over bets will be coming in from now to game time. Your pro tip of the hour, all at VSiN.com for pro subscribers only. The Lombardi line is next. Enjoy from VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.